Hello, hello, and welcome back to Soulstar Radio. I'm Jacquelene Close-Moore, your host, coming to you live from my little shop in South Yarra in Melbourne. And to follow on from last week's Space Oddity David Bowie lyrics, we've got this thing of, this is ground control to Major Tom. You've really made the grade, and the papers want to know whose shirts you wear. Now it's time to leave the capsule if you dare. So I'd like to, with those lyrics, give a special tribute to the passing of and the life of Stephen Hawking, a truly brilliant mind. He's passed actually on Albert Einstein's birthday. So for a guy who said that, we're kind of like evolved monkeys and all these sorts of different things he said, and there was a skeptical side to him, and there's always been a wondrous, curious side to him as well. It's really interesting, the fate of that, we might call it. And so we send his family all of our regards, and also for all of the lives he's touched. He's been amazing in inventing a interest in science, which, also brings in critical thinking, which is really important in our world. To have science and facts to back things up, which is always, I think, rather important. And so what I would say is may he have found the understanding of the universe, what it is and why it exists, because that's what he was seeking in his life. So ground control, I think, to Major Stephen Hawking. We know you're out there. And we hope you're having a great time in the afterlife, which you may or may not have agreed with. So we send you lots of love, and to everyone around you as well. So I wanted to start off with that one. Now, I've also had people writing in. There's sort of been a few different emails in there, so thank you so much for writing in. I sort of have to address them sort of one by one, and as it fits in with the energy and the theme of the week and the show. And that's sort of how I have to go about it to sort of make it work for me as well. And so today I might touch on a email that came in from Lenny, who I think is in Sydney, Australia. So thank you so much for writing in, Lenny. You asked about sounds in the left ear and about a specific date. My best way of answering that for you is to say that Spirit can make sounds. We can intuitively hear sounds when we need to. I feel like it's more like words whispered in your ear that you're talking about there in your letter to me. To me, sometimes people will hear it in the left ear, sometimes other people will hear it in the right ear. There's lots of different theories about which ear it should be, and, if we had 3 ears, which one of that would be? Should it be the middle one? What I would say is that sometimes we hear things, to do with the past or to do with the present. Sometimes it's a message that can be from our wiser or our inner tuition, our wiser self or intuition. Sometimes it's our guides. Sometimes it's a passing by spirit. And sometimes it can even be, some messages some people can hear might not be necessarily all that helpful. They're the ones we don't want to listen to. So if people out there sort of hear, I think, the more negative voice, well, that's the one you want to tune out from and, seek help with and perhaps do a lot of clearing on and grounding on. But when it comes to messages that are really, quite poignant, are helpful, are positive in their nature. So basically, is it accurate? Is it helpful? Is it positive? Is there something you can get at? Those are the three sort of questions I would ask to any sounds, voices or impressions that you're getting. Check those sorts of things out first before you go too far into it. I do feel, Eleni, that you're actually very sensitive yourself. I do think at times you do hear things. I think the other thing you would find is that at times if people are telling you things, if what they're saying is not in their heart, you'll actually hear both what's in their heart and what they are also verbalising. So that you can sort of feel those two things going on at once. That could make you confused a little bit at times if you're trying to decipher which is which. Most times I think you'll get it right, but when you are a bit confused, that can be because you want it to be one way, or you've got a bit of a filter going on that may cause bias. So it's really important to listen to what the first feeling is and take that on board without judgment. That's sort of, and also for people watching and listening, if you're having sounds going on or, voices or things like that, it pays to use both your intuition with it, but also use a rational, logical mind as well. A combination of both never hurts you, and that's how I would kind of work with that. This year, Eleni, you should be in quite a spectacular year. Last year, things would have been quite heavy, full on and challenging, obstacles at different points. I do feel some triumphs there. 2018 should be more positive if you can just make sure that you don't allow, I guess, the challenges or the scrutiny that might come up to be the overreaching thing that you focus on. It's really important to go, okay, well, here's my plan. That's what I'm focused on. This is how I'm going to do it. And to take everything one step at a time. Don't get too far ahead of yourself, and also don't put too much pressure on yourself, which I think sometimes you do. So that's sort of what if I was giving a warning of how to deal with that, that's how I would deal with it. Just take it one step at a time there. You should be very busy this year. You can feel flat out, even if not much is seeming to be happening around you. It's like we're always on the go anyway, but this year should actually have a lot of positives there. It's just about literally taking it one step at a time. So I hope that helps you, Eleni, and I send you a lot of love, light and healing as well, and all of my kindest regards to you and your family. So lots of love there. Now I'm going to go on to, we've got a caller very patiently waiting. Yay! I'm getting on the callers today. Woo! We've got Kimberly in Calgary, Alberta, Canada there. So I'm having a chuckle because that's a rather significant area of the world for me. So we've got Kimberly. Kimberly, you there?
Hi.
Hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for calling. I really kind of get sometimes nervous, sometimes anxious, get up and go, let's just keep moving, don't have time for this kind of energy with you, where you'll go from thing to thing to thing to sort of keep on top of stuff. So sometimes you can find that you need to stop, take a deep breath, because there can be a lot of rushing with your energy is what I get immediately with you. I do feel a lot of positivity there, but I'm really getting pointed to the throat. So whether there's been issues with not being able to say, what's on your mind, or having to deal with blockages in communication, or whether there's actually been throat issues at times here, it does make me wonder. But the question you wanted me to look at for you today?
I was just wondering regarding my ex, if he'll return to me.
Okay, I heard part of that. You're wanting to know about your ex, is that right?
Yeah, if he'll return to me.
If he'll return to you. Okay, and there I go again. I'm getting pointed to the throat. So there are issues with communication here that make that difficult. And whether it's you can't say what you would like to, or whether that is him, I'm a bit unsure. But I would be allowing things to be where they are for now. It's really vitally important that you are also loving you first and foremost at the moment. Don't do things that are unloving towards you in this situation, because I do feel that's quite detrimental anyway. And if what you're doing is to be kind to yourself in a balanced way, is not compatible to him being around, then you really need to have another think about that. Because to me, it's really about you making sure you are caring towards yourself and nurturing towards yourself here. So not just being there for someone if they're not treating you right, or being consistent in what they're doing with you. And the message here is about waiting at the moment. I've actually literally got the wonderful Linda Willow Roberts deck here, the Manifestation Oracle, and the card there is actually wait. So it is about having to wait at the moment. And I know that's not exactly what you want to hear, but it is about having to do that at the moment. There's a lot more learning and integration to go on for you at the moment, spiritually, emotionally, that's creating a shift there for you that's going to bear out well in the end. But at the moment, the message there, although that's not exactly what you want, is about waiting. So that's how I would have to put my answer to that question for you. There's also this sense of you returning home to yourself in some way, whether there's been issues around the question of home, house, where we're living. That may be another issue that's going on here in some way, but it's like you're getting to return home or feeling as if you're coming home to yourself in the next little while. And it's just a case at the moment to do with this particular situation of the main message I get is wait, but I'm still going towards that throat and having to take the time to think about if he were to speak to you right now and he were in front of you right now, to go away and think about what would the most important words that you could say be, and not to be attached necessarily to what his response is, to simply be able to get things off your chest and to be able to feel at peace, I think I would call it, with what you've been able to say, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's been pretty full on, and I do think, that's my best way of putting it to you. Take the time to meditate. I would really work on meditating on the heart energy at the moment. So maybe if we do the hand on the heart and then the other hand on the solar plexus, that can actually be a very nurturing, giving yourself a hug type thing that can help you through this at the moment, to be more kind to you. Don't sacrifice everything to him. So that's my message for you today, Kimberly. I do hope that it helps you. I'll be sending you healing after the show, as I will anyone who calls in today, and anyone who's listening will get the benefit of that too. I've got a candle there. I'm just it's just got a bit of a strong fragrance, so I'm going to light that later on, but the intention is already there for you. Kimberly, I send you all of my love. Thank you for calling in. Now, we also have the wonderful Lauren in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. She's excited. There's a lot going on there. Are you there, Lauren?
Yes, can you hear me?
Bang, there she is. Yeah, I can absolutely hear you. I can feel you too. I can feel you all the way across in Australia. I really like that. There's a lot of energy going on there, and it can feel a bit rapid fire at the moment. It's like everything's quite busy, trying to kind of keep on top of everything. And it just feels like a lot going through your mind as well. I do feel there's a tendency to try to just keep getting up, keep moving, a strong sense of willpower, determination to see things through. But the question I want to look at for you today, darling?
I kind of want to know about relationship between somebody at work.
Yep. Wow. I just got bang, a whole lot of energy there, and it does feel as if I'm quite challenged there. We need to be careful how we deal with this. I feel like there are inconsistencies in their approach we've got to be a bit wary of, into how to deal with them best to get the most out of this, and to be heard. Interesting theme we've got going on there about being heard. But I just feel like we've got to be a bit careful of the words we use, how they're perceived. It's like the worm can turn a bit easily if we're not careful here. So it is just about, take your time, feel this out, try not to react. I think I'm dealing with a couple of different issues and a couple of different people there, not just the one you're looking at. So the message is to be a bit careful, with how you're dealing with things here, because it's about, I think, using on one level with some people here, it's about diplomacy. On another level, it's about taking your time, not just my producer telling me to take my time, but also you having to take your time with the situation you're in there. Let things take their time, their turn, the changes, and everything will come full circle in its own kind of way. Don't try to push anything at the moment, because that can be misinterpreted and then misrepresented. Now that makes sense. So it's really important not to do that. Does that make sense to you so far?
Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's actually my boss I'm talking about. It's really weird because we have this I guess flirt, we flirt back and forth, but we keep it, I would say, very professional. And everybody would go with your gut feeling, on your feelings of how, he makes you feel. So the other night I wrote him on a napkin. I was like, hey, I would really like to get drinks with you. So kind of I put it out there for him to know, I'm actually interested in him. And I was kind of nervous after doing that, because I didn't know if that's going to change, what's been going on between us.
What I feel there is you've done the Hail Mary pass in football, which is good, because, you know, you may as well find out. I was tenuous about this and a bit, but then when I heard you say those words, I was like, oh, phew, because I can see this person is able to handle this maturely, regardless of which way they feel they're going to go. There is a mercurial aspect to them, and Mercury, of course, is a metal that literally can shift and change into any shape, and they use it in thermometers for that reason. So there is sort of a barometric temperature that's safe, and then a barometric temperature where everything gets a bit nuts. I do feel this person is changeable in that aspect. I don't think it's, you know, a bad thing handled the right way. I do feel that you and your intentions are very genuine, and that is valued. And so I feel that it's now in their ballpark to decide how they wish to deal with this from here. And I feel they're in the process of working that out. And I do think, in a way, it's kind of thrown them a bit for a loop, which is kind of an odd saying, because on one level they're fully aware of, you know, how this is being you know, reflected upon, or, you know, what the upshot of this, how it's sort of manifested. But on the other level, they're sort of, hang on, how do I feel about that? So it is, I don't feel that you've crossed a line really here at all. I feel it's, you know, it's fine. And I don't feel they're going to see this as you crossing a line either. I just feel that they're having to take their time to work out what they feel. I don't feel, you know, bad things coming off this at all. I don't feel we have to worry. I just feel that, as I said, they're still factoring in what they want to do here. I do feel that other people in and around this situation, that's where some of the difficulty can be. But I still get that we can work this through and make this, you know, quite doable. It's just a matter of literally taking your time and, gee, here we go again, taking your time. So it is just let this play out, let it take its time, let it take its process. It's in their court now. You know, they have to take the next action and decide what that will be. And I think that's in a positive way. I feel hesitancy on their part. A little bit of shock, but not really. It's sort of shock, but not shock. It's sort of, yeah, that makes sense. You know, it's like, shock. But hang on, I understand why, you know, why this would happen. So it's sort of a little bit up in the air at the moment as to, you know, how that's kind of travelling just at the moment. But just let it play out, let it take its time. Don't rush anything, don't push anything. Just sort of let it drop for now. As I said, it's up to them to have to take that next step. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's what I was worried about, because like I said, he's my boss and I'm like the employee, so I know how that could be, like, you know, sexual harassment, worrying. That's how I was gonna do. Like, that's crazy that you said that, because I was just, you know, I put it in. I, you know, told him how I felt, like wrote it in a letter or wrote it in a note, and basically like want to leave it up to him. And I'm just gonna go into work and just act like, you know, nothing really happened, and I guess see where it goes from there.
Yep, that is exactly the right way in your situation with this particular person, I feel, to do that, because then he can either, you know, pretend that never happened, or he can actually, and I think if I feel he will talk about this, I do think it's just going to take him time. So don't worry, I do feel you'll get some kind of communication back. It just takes its time. And with him, sometimes he addresses things directly. Other times he addresses things in a kind of a bit of an indirect way, and a bit of a sort of, you know, dipping the toe in the water, sort of putting the feelers out himself. And he can feel nervous in this situation too. I do feel he feels nervous in this situation. So, you know, I feel you're okay, and I'm not worried about the you know, the worry of harassment. You know, I feel like we're in okay territory on that level. But you know, he's going to be careful about how this reflects for him to do with other people there. So yeah, I do feel he's going to you know, work that out with you, and I do think that's going to be positive, but it just let it take its time for now. You've got the right approach. Absolutely, just go in there, focus on the work, be professional like nothing ever happened, and let's see what he does next. I do think it takes a while. I do think you get a response. I do think there's more discussion from there, but really, really, truly, you're doing the right thing. Take your time.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I feel good
You're
about the
absolutely
choice
welcome.
that I made.
Sorry, say that again. I missed that.
I appreciate, I feel good about what I did because I was just really stressing about it because I didn't know if it would make things awkward or not.
I think you've always been hyper responsible, and I say hyper responsible because there's this really huge, sometimes like even as a child and a teenager, you would put a lot of burden on yourself to get things right, and you still sort of do quite a bit of that in certain situations, although you've learnt to pull it back a bit, but that's still sometimes going on as well. And I think the thing is that, this is something not to stress out about because he has put it out there himself in a kind of roundabout way, and he will now be able to reflect on the fact that he's done that, even if it's been in part, and I do say in part, a small part, a bit unconscious. I do think there's been a level of conscious there, but I don't feel it's a bad thing on either of your sides. I don't feel he's abusing process or authority or anything like that, and I don't feel you're seeing it as that either. It's just that I do think he also has a heck of a lot on his plate at the moment and in his mind, and I do feel as well that there's been quite a difficult relationship in the past that I think that has left him kind of just feeling like just being a bit of a free agent and just not really thinking about, really being with anyone on a really big scale for quite a while. So this has also kind of surprised him on that level too, because he sort of wasn't really expecting it. That's how I'm sort of reading him. So that's why we just, like nothing happened. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You hit like everything right on spot. So I feel so much better after this conversation. I really do.
Yeah,
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. And also with that boss, I feel like he's kind of this, I think I'm going to call him a bit of a creative genius. And with that creative genius, sometimes that's a lot of fun, and sometimes it's a bit sort of semi-explosive, like he'll have an explosion of ideas, or there may be, sometimes a lot going on in his head that he sort of has a bit of difficulty kind of juggling. But you're actually a calming agent for him. You're able to help him just sort of level out a lot. I don't know whether you're aware of that, but, it's quite a unique connection the two of you have, and there is fondness on both sides.
Huh. I did not know that. Huh.
Yeah, I do. I really get that with him because, he can sort of have his ups and downs, but he will have the poker face or the smiley face and everything will look like, oh, no, I'm fine, but woo! So there is a calming that you give him that, perhaps he hasn't spoken about, but it is there. But you also have a great rapport between you, and he's able to trust you with things that I think he doesn't really necessarily open up to other people with. So, you kind of get him. And, over time that's going to be a really good thing and certainly has already. But it's just about, at the moment, do what you're doing.
Well, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely right. Just remember to tread carefully with this and don't push it any further and it will take care of itself and work itself out. So I really, truly wish you the best with that. Once again, I'll also be sending you healing after this and, any clearing that might be necessary. Other people have been stressing you out a bit. So, that's people seem to want a lot from you. So I'm just also sending healing for that as well in the meantime and wishing you the very best there, Lauren. And thank you so much for your call. Thank you to both callers today, and also to Eleni in Australia who's written in, and I hope that helps you as well. Thank you also to all of the listeners, viewers, and wherever you are on the world or the internet, however you're managing to catch this show. It's a great pleasure to provide that for you. So I'll be back, same bat time, same bat channel next week. And although it's changing time zones around the world slowly, and over the next month it'll go back another hour in Australia. But in the meantime, sending you lots of love, light and healing. There's more shows tonight where there'll be more readings. So do stay tuned. It's quite a wonderful lineup this evening in America and today in Australia. In the meantime, I'm going to send you lots of love, light and harmony. You can catch me on Facebook. Just type in Soulstar Radio, or on the web, soulstar.media, as in news. I'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then you really ought to show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands.